One of the reasons many people lost out of entry is not waiting for a confirmation when making trade execution. And one of the ways to have this high and accurate confirmation in order to avoid market manipulation is to have a retest of that zone. A retest can be on a support. If this is your zone, a price can move here, come here, then break out of this resistance. So price will retest this resistance before pushing to the upside. So there are scenarios whereby price will break out of this zone. Price will break out of it and then return back inside. Without this retest, if you are someone who is just aggressive, you make entry without waiting for this confirmation before buying, you eventually lose out because this will be a liquidity sweep of this zone. This can also be applicable to a change of trend. For instance, price is moving in an uptrend and price is moving this way. So you have your trend line connected to this zone. Connect your trend line this way. So what happens? The instance is price will break out of the trend line and still return back and continue to the original direction. But someone with the knowledge of break and retest will not be a victim of this. Why? Because you wait patiently for price to break, retest this, continue to the downside before this confirmation will be of validity for an entry. It can be on a moving average. So this confirmation is very much important, and that is exactly what we'll be looking at in this video. First, let's look at this scenario and exactly what happened here. So over time, price has been bearish. So we had this move from here, we have this move, we have this move, we have this move, and we have this move. So obviously price is in a downtrend. So if you look carefully, price pull here, right? Price came down here, and subsequently price break out to this upper zone. So if you look at this point, you realize that price will turn back from this zone. We test this point and then before continuing to the upside. So this becomes an extra confirmation strategy for you as a trader. So this is what a break and retest is all about in a typical trend condition. So if we had our trend line, for instance, connected this way, now this is our trend line connection. So look at how the retest happened. Price does what? Price break out of this trend line. Had we had that retest, price come back, retest it, and then push to the upside. So the retest will not be as obvious as you might think in some scenario, but this is a typical retest. Price went, all of this candle that pull back to this zone is a retest. We will have those pin bar and then price push all the way to the upside. So you must treat this as a zone. Okay, all of this must be treated as a zone. Price might not touch the trend line in particular, but price will pull back to the zone of the trend line and continue to the upside. If you are trading support and resistance, you realize that these zones here is your initial resistance zone, right? That is your initial resistance zone. So what happened? You realize how price move. Price break out of it and then later come back into it, retest it before continuing to the upside. So this strategy is simple and it is straightforward. It works across several pairs, and this is very effective when you can apply it to your trading partner. So let's look how we can use our moving average and see the retest on the moving average. Now, regardless of your moving average that you are using, this always works based on it. So in this scenario, considering the moving average, do you see that here price crossed above the moving average, and after that price went up, we test the moving average before continuing to the upside. So you can see that in this scenario, price pull to the moving average, we test around the moving average before going up. So this moving average can serve as a zone. Look at, in this case, price break out of the moving average, come back, retest it before pushing back to the upside. So you can keep on using this often for your trade entry and execution. In this case, price pull back, price retest it, and it retest it. So this is what we refer to as a breakout. Look at it, it break out from the downside, retest it, and then push to the upside. This pattern is simple and very effective. Train your eye to identify it and you'll be amazed at the result you have. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in the subsequent video.